but at higher levels of experience. From those ascending vantage points, a given idea, a given feeling, a given perception is recognizably itself, and yet somehow different. One's understanding of it becomes richer, sometimes in ways that are continuous, sometimes in ways that are revolutionary. I have tried to mimic that spiraling ascent in the chapters that follow. A theme or notion is introduced, considered, dropped, and then picked up again later in light of additional readings, further reflections. Certain images and events and people will recur throughout this book, returning perhaps when you think we're done with them. I write this way because none of the things I care about most have ever proven susceptible to systematic exposition. Introduction. Sometimes I teach old books to young people, and recently I was teaching the epistles of the Roman poet Horace to a group of undergraduates. For many centuries, there were few authors more widely read than Horace, though to be fair, most of the readers were boys forced to translate him from Latin when they would far rather have been playing some kind of ball game. Some old dudes sitting in a farmhouse writing rhythmical letters to friends. This was not exactly a recipe for delight. Maybe my students, mostly young women these days, also thought they had better things to do. But then we got to one of the epistles, addressed to one Lollius Maximus, in which Horace wonders how one might acquire a tranquil mind. A tranquil mind. Who doesn't need that? Often at the beginning of a class, I will give my students a brief reading quiz, unannounced in advance. Yes, I'm that kind of teacher, which has the salutary effect of making sure that everyone is in class on time. The room is always full when I walk in, and fairly regularly the first thing I see is every head bowed before a glowing screen. Sometimes they don't even look up when I say hello. Often their brows are furrowed. They may look anxious or worried. They dutifully put their phones away as soon as class begins, whether it does so with a quiz or a question. But during the discussion, I occasionally see hands twitch or reach toward bags. If I see phones left on the seminar room table, I lightly but seriously suggest that they be put away to minimize temptation. All my students have mastered the art of packing up their bags at the end of class with one hand while checking messages with the other. They leave the room with heads once more down and brows once more furrowed, navigating like a blind person through her familiar living room. I know how they feel. When my students are taking a quiz, there's nothing for me to do, so my hand then drifts toward my phone. Or did until I finally forced myself to stop carrying my phone around. And my twitchiness during quizzes was among the chief factors that pushed me to that decision. That twitchiness, that constant low-level anxiety at being communicatively unstimulated, seems so normal now that we may be slightly disconcerted when it's absent. That's why a tweet by Jason Gay, a writer for the Wall Street Journal, went viral a few years ago. There's a guy in this coffee shop sitting at a table, not on his phone, not on a laptop, just drinking coffee. Like a psychopath. A man not justifying his existence through constant work or constant social connectivity. Psychopathy seems the only logical explanation. Unless, of course, he happens to possess a tranquil mind. The old man in an Italian farmhouse 2,000 years ago thought a lot about how you might acquire such a mind. What brings tranquility? He asks his friend Lollius Maximus, or rather muses to Lollius. What makes you care less? What did Horace need to care less about? It's worth taking a moment to tell his story. His father had probably been born a slave. Certainly he had spent some time in slavery. Eventually he was able to purchase his freedom and made a career that allowed him to offer his gifted son, born 65 BCE, the best education on offer, including a period at the great academy in Athens that had been founded by Plato. Later, Horace